I'd like to title this video Walt in Walt Disney World. This is going to be part 1 of 4. Magic Kingdom. 4 parks, 4 parts. So we begin here at Main Street, USA. Disneyland first opened in 1955. What was the first thing that everyone saw? It wasn't the monorail. The monorail did not come until 1959. And yes, it may have been the parking lot. Yes, it may have been the parking trams, assuming they existed back then. But it was actually the train. Walt envisioned Disneyland to be surrounded by a train. And while the Walt Disney World Railroad currently is down due to construction on the Tron coaster, the folks at the Magic Kingdom have been so generous to display a working antique steam locomotive. Number 440, number 4, Roy O. Disney, Walt's brother, who opened Walt Disney World in 1971. Sadly, Roy died in December of 1971, just months after having opened Walt Disney World. Let's take a look now, shall we?
Hey, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. As you can tell, these are very ornately detailed coaches. These take you back to the days of when the railroad was really the best way to travel. Given their ornate, paintings. Just look at this. Look at these smooth curves. They look these are hand painted. These are hand painted. Now these belong to number 2, to the number 2 locomotive, 260 Mogul number 2, the Lily Bell, named after Walt's wife, Lillian Disney, Lillian Marie Bounds. Now, they have 3 of the 5 cars that are normally on the train. But again, if you look at this, you will notice how reminiscent it is of the turn of the century and before, when steam ruled the rails, before internal combustion locomotives were ever a thing. The internal combustion engine had been invented, but it wasn't really until right around World War II, either during or after, that the internal combustion engine made its way to the rails. And given the time period that this is in, would a diesel locomotive really look fitting? Of course not. Also, it goes through Frontierland, reminiscent of the Wild West. Would it look very fitting in there? A diesel locomotive, that is? Of course not. Again, look at these nice details, these nice curves, and then you got that shiny number. And then you got the lamps, very reminiscent of the days, again, when electricity was still just an idea. Well, an idea for something to bring into folks' homes.
Do you want to sit in the choo-choo?
Now here you go. Here's a steam generator. Of course, this is shaped like a toolbox that would have sat on the rear of a locomotive's tender back in the day. Because if it looked more boxy, then, you know, it wouldn't look very much in place. So again, they have to make it look more fitting for the time period. Walt Disney World Railroad. Note the presence of Walt. Many people just shorten it to Disney World. No, I always say Walt Disney World, because Walt is the man responsible for all of this. Walt. Focus on that for a second. Remember that name, Walt Disney. He is the man responsible for everything in the parks. Anna, Elsa, Olaf, Mr. Incredible, Woody, Jessie, Chip the Teacup, Belle, Beast, you name it. Without him, none of those characters would have ever come to life. Now, as we make our way to the front, you can see this is indeed very much reminiscent of the days of the Wild West and the turn of the century, and also when electricity was starting to come into people's homes. You have a oil-burning style, I'm going to say emphasis on style, headlamp. Of course, this is operated by electricity, because an oil lamp, you know, you got to light the fire for it, and, you know, fire and, you know, safety first. So then you have your marker lamps and a replica builder's plate. I think if I recall correctly, the builder's plate is somewhere in a museum or something like that. I don't know. Pilot truck. And this is your valve. And this is the piston. This is what makes the train move. It's not those wheels. Because first off, in order to move the wheels, you have to have something that's going to power them. So obviously the steam is heated in the boiler. It comes down through here, and it pushes this rod. And it pushes this little slide, and it pushes a piston connected to this slider, which then moves this rod, which then turns this rod, which internally drives what's called a valve gear, which then slides. So as this goes in, this is going to come out. You can notice, you know, the nice ornate details, you know, copper tubing, brass handrails, brass, boiler jacket, excuse me, memory gap, your whistle.
There's a whole like self-sufficient city.
Now here you go. Here's your cab. This is the cab of the Royal Disney steam locomotive. You can see all your valves right there. This is, yes, folks, that's authentic. That's 100% real. Your throttle,
Essentially, it would have
your
been
Johnson bar, also known as your reverser,
but years ahead
and
of where they were.
your brake, which you kind of can, and yeah, you can see it from this angle. How about I move my phone up? That's your whistle. That's the rod that blows the whistle, and your bell cord. Pressure gauge, speedometer, and another, and then an air pressure gauge. The tiny one is the air pressure gauge. The larger one is the boiler pressure gauge.
They were all trained for that. So in fact, that's how we they all go out
That's your firebox. You kind of see some ash actually. Interesting. So again, this is the first place where you will find Walt in Walt Disney World in the Magic Kingdom. You can probably find him scattered throughout the resorts, but this video is going to focus primarily on Walt in the Walt Disney World Resort theme parks.